Survivor is such a complex game in itself. Taking random strangers from all walks of life and putting them on an island to fight for it all for the title of Sole Survivor and the $1 million that comes with it. Thousands of videos have been made talking about Survivor, but something that I don't see talked about as much is the behind the scenes of Survivor. Because let's face it, Survivor is filmed months before the show actually airs, so the producers and editors have to create a season based on all the content created. And what Survivor's done pretty much since the beginning has been storytelling. They want to depict a narrative that reaches the audience and leaves them with a satisfying conclusion. That's been their MO the entire history of the show. But when you do this for 46 seasons and 25 years, the audience is going to catch on to the tropes and the different editing styles the show loves to use. Welcome, Edgic, to the world of Survivor. Edgic, for those of you who don't know, is a simple cross between the worlds of edit and logic, with the purpose in this case of Survivor to try and determine the outcome of a Survivor season based on the edited show we're given, taking three main components in how they determine the edgic for a specific season. That is through rating, that is through tone, and that is through visibility. It gets pretty fucking in-depth, and there are plenty of videos out there that explain in full what edgic is. The best example I can give off the top of my head is a video from Idled Out that will be linked in the description down below if you want a full breakdown on edgic. But for me and the purposes of this video, I'm looking specifically at the winner's edit. No matter how much Jeff Probst wants to deny that the winner's edit is not real and does not exist, 2 decades of research and deduction prove otherwise. But I'm not focusing on the winner's edit in the sense of deducting what it is or how to spot it or anything like that. Today, I'm speaking on how the winner's edit affects the viewing of Survivor. Sure, there are plenty of people who watch Survivor with no care or knowledge of the winner edit. They sit down every Wednesday, enjoy what they watch for 90 minutes, and go on with their day. But for me, and what I'm sure is at least a few dozen other people out there, it's hard to do anything but look at Survivor from this perspective. You're constantly reading the edited show to find out the fate of every single castaway. Or at least I am. I'm looking at who's winning, who's a runner-up, who's getting content that is purely situational, and the list can go on and on and on. The way I watch Survivor has fundamentally changed from when I was younger, and I'm here to find out if that is a good thing or a bad thing. When you look at Survivor from the perspective of reading the edit, can that hurt your experience with the show more than it would if the show was edited differently? Unfortunately, I feel that I know the answer to that already, at least in my opinion. There have been way too many seasons that fuck with my experience as a fan of Survivor because of the natural function to watch the show from the perspective of reading the edit. I can't just turn it off and move on with my viewing experience. I'm stuck in purgatory, and this video is here to describe how I feel and what I experience for those who don't watch the show from this lens. Or find somebody else who feels the same way as me and feels the same thoughts that I do. And the best way I can explain my perspective is providing evidence. Giving 3 winners from 3 modern seasons of Survivor, all seasons that I watch live from the perspective I have now of reading the edited show. I'm going to give examples and reasoning why all 3 of these seasons were tanked or appreciated less because the winner edit was too obvious. The gameplay could have been amazing from round to round, but the end result was way too predictable that it felt like none of that mattered. From there, I will compare Survivor US and its editing style to another international Survivor franchise. Give more perspective and more discussion about how the winner's edit in Survivor affects the viewing experience of the show a lot more than people think, whether we consciously think about it or not. I don't have a full end goal of what this video is going to be. It's just a fun experiment to me. Will it go well? I have no goddamn clue, but I've had these feelings stored up for a while, and making a video expressing those feelings feels like the best place. And please, please, please comment your thoughts down below on the subject. I'd love to start a discourse about Survivor Edgic and the winner's edit in the show, or just anything Survivor related. And while you're at it, it doesn't hurt to subscribe to the channel. It's quick and easy and makes us practically best friends, I think. I don't know. I don't make the rules. I'm just saying, regardless. Let's dive in and see what the winner's edit does, how it affects any given season of Survivor, and if it's a good thing for the show moving forward. To start with the examples that I'm giving to prove I'm not crazy for thinking this, I'm gonna go with what's fresh in my mind, kind of the inspiration for this video. It's the most recent winner in Survivor, Kenzie from Survivor 46. Survivor 46 on paper is such a chaotic season of the show, and that ending is so dynamic and so interesting to watch. You have the social queen and Kenzie against the strategic king and Charlie, and this should have been such a fun battle to watch play out and see who comes out on top. Unfortunately though, if you were like me and focused on the edgic or the edit of these two, there's an obvious winner, and that was Kenzie. I tried really hard to look at this game objectively, and I even pointed out that if you don't look at the edit and look strictly at the game, how the hell did Charlie not win? Now that is a discussion for a different day, but what we're talking about here is the edited show, and the edited show made it loud and clear from the merge on. Kenzie was winning this game, so any suspense or any fun that could have been had if they had boosted Charlie's edit to be competitive with Kenzie, or lowered how obvious it was Kenzie was going to win, the season could have been so much better and had an electric ending where you were on the edge of your seat not knowing who was going to come out on top. But because of the winner's edit and showing so clearly it was Kenzie's game to lose, I felt robbed of that feeling. I'm sure many people got to watch without a care in the world of the edit being portrayed, but as somebody who's basically programmed to watch Survivor this way, my experience with this season was hurt because it was a one-horse race in what should have been a photo finish. That is the best example I can give to the winner's edit harming a season of Survivor, taking such an exciting ending and destroying it. Another New Era winner's edit that harmed my experience with the season was Jam Jam from Survivor 44. This one is not as egregious as the Kenzie one because instead of this being a one-horse race where Kenzie was quite literally the only person that could win at the end, the edit of 44 propped up two people, Jam Jam and Carolyn. So the issue I had with Kenzie, it's non-existent here, at least to an extent. Where I do have a problem with Jam Jam and the edit of Survivor 44 in general is that it's the Tika 3 show and only the Tika 3 show. All of the content went to Jam Jam, Carolyn, and Carson, and nobody else got a damn thing. That is okay if you are a fan of the Tika 3 because you get plenty of content and confirmation pretty much from the merge on. One of them's winning the game. And at first, I actually liked this fact. If you looked at nothing but the players coming into the game come the merge, to get a Jam Jam or a Carolyn win, something insane had to have happened. And I was 99% sure one of those two were winning. Probably Jam Jam. Well, shit, I'ma sit back and watch some insane vote outs that lead to Jam Jam's insane underdog victory. Except we didn't get any of that. It was a steamroll with no adversity face for any of the Tika 3 up until the final four where there was literally no other option. So the winner's edit kind of led me into the opposite direction of what Kenzie's did. So this kind of led me to the opposite of how I felt with the Kenzie edit because I was put into a false reality where I expected great gameplay because I knew the Tika 3 were going to win at the end of the day. Not to mention, quite literally nobody else mattered during the season. I'm asking you right now, do you know a single personal moment from anybody on the Ratu tribe? The answer is no, because they didn't even care to fake it. The story is great when it comes to the Tika 3, and I'm sure Jeff and production were so high on the season because they watched it play out in real time without the edited product. But because the edited product showed us and told us nothing except that the Tika 3 are going to win the game, I'm not a fan at all of how much a steamroll the Survivor 44 post-merge is. But if they had built up literally anybody else not named Jam Jam, Carolyn, or Carson, there could have been more fun with these votes and these moves. And in retrospect, the season tanks in my mind because you only remember 3 members of this cast, and that is not fair to the other players. And not only is that not fair to the other players, not only is that not fair to the season, but that's not fair to us as the audience. Without the winner's edit existing in this case specifically, Survivor 44 could have been a much better journey than the one we were given, and that's a shame. The final winner I'm talking about will be the man who won the All Winners season, Tony Vlachos. The issue I had with Tony is kind of the exact mix between my problem with Kenzie and my problem with Jam Jam. By the end game, nobody else was winning that game except for Tony. But at the same time, you're thinking to yourself, well, if Tony Vlachos is going to get to the end of an all-winner season, you know some crazy shit's about to go down. Only to be left with a literal pragonging by the time of the Sophie boot. The only close call being the fire-making challenge, and that sucks, because I do love Tony. I'm sorry, I do. He was one of my favorites going into Winners at War, but I never thought there was a chance in hell he was winning. But then we get further and further and further into the season, and he survives and eventually becomes the Edgic frontrunner by a mile. So I'm super excited until you kind of realize it's the Tony show with nothing else to it. There are people who hate Tony and hate this season because of Tony. And as a Tony fan, even I was bored as hell by the endgame because there was no intrigue, there was no excitement, no shakeup. That all stems right back to the way the show is editing and the editors wanting to tell the story of how Tony won. The only problem is they left about 16 other winners high and dry. Unless your name was Adam, Sophie, or Michelle, there's nothing else there. A real shame that because of how dominant and how obvious Tony's win was, I was kind of hoping for him to fail by the end. Or at least something happened, some shakeup in the game, get me invested into this endgame. But we aren't allowed to have nice things that even people I really like can annoy me at the end because of this winner's edit that the show feels the need to give these people. And I don't think it's necessary. Now we can move to a really fun subject, at least in my mind. And that is the comparison of the editing style in Survivor US to the editing style from other international versions of the show. Specifically, in this case, I'm going to be talking about Survivor South Africa. Obviously, this is the South African version of the show we all know and love that is most well known for how their seasons are edited. Their motto is to basically show us what happened on the island. It's a crazy concept. Whoever was in control for that round or whoever was in danger for that round will be made very clear from the edit, and you will have a much better understanding for what is going on in the game from round to round. We don't have season-long story arcs or foreshadowing for certain cast members or, say it with me now, a winner's edit. They are clear and concise with us, and that's all I'm really asking for. Survivor US is all about putting on a TV product. They are telling you a story. They will fabricate what is going on in order to create a product that has a journey that you can experience from episode 1 to the finale. They want as many blind sides as possible, flashy moments that stand out to the audience, characters to root for, characters to root against, strategic powerhouses, and underdogs. Everything is created to fit the narrative the editing team has in mind. Survivor South Africa does things a lot differently, as I just explained. Whatever the players brought to the show is what the show is going to be. There aren't going to be these flashy, big, crazy moments that get millions of views on YouTube. If anything, blindsides are almost non-existent. Not in the game, because those obviously happen nearly every round, but the show isn't hiding what is going on from the audience. Survivor US tends to, for lack of a better word, lie to the audience about what is going on. They will make players feel undecided going into tribal or leave out key information in order to have the audience guessing on what is going to happen next. Survivor South Africa does none of that. They map out what's going to happen, what plans are being formed, who's in those numbers, and why they're in those numbers. So we sacrifice those jaw-dropping moments for a much cleaner product, something that feels right when watching the franchise. And if you've seen any season of Survivor South Africa, you know what I'm talking about. Why does any of this matter? I bring this up to show an example that other methods of the show work just as well, if not better. The editing style Survivor US uses may have been the first one, but that does not mean it's flawless by any means. Seeing another country use a unique format that I think most people who watch can agree is better than the US editing style is kind of frustrating. I still love Survivor US and everything it's given after 46 seasons and counting. But holy hell, it's frustrating to feel like my experience of the show to its fullest potential is being robbed because of this tired out format they used to create the show. I'm not saying for Survivor US to fully change their editing style that they've been using for over 2 decades. 1, that's never gonna happen. And 2, that isn't exactly what I want to happen. I just want to feel invested. Something I haven't felt about a Survivor season or a Survivor conclusion since fucking Gabler. And that's fucking Gabler. So what have we got before that? It's Chris Underwood, one of the most unique winners in Survivor history. I just don't expect anything to change when it comes to the show. They have their success. People are gonna watch, me included, and people love the show for what it is. Again, me included. But I made this video mostly so I can rant about a topic I haven't seen before in the Survivor discourse. And I really want to know if this is a problem that I need to just deal with or if other people feel the same way as me. Who knows, I've just been yapping nonsense this entire video, so I'll start to wrap this one up, but I just need to bring light to an issue that I feel very strongly about in Survivor. Whoop whoop, another Beans Bitch Fest over with. I think I'm just crazy and watch Survivor like a psychopath, but who knows? Anyways, I got a lot of shit coming down the pipe very soon. We got Traitors, Big Brother, Survivor, Total Drama, and plenty more that I'm not even thinking of. It's kinda scary, so be ready for plenty of videos in many varieties. So please stay tuned and subscribe if you made it to the end of this video. For now, again, if you made it to the end, I love ya. Platonically, of course, and I will undoubtedly see ya when I see ya. Bye-bye.